Dhammapada verses 188 to 192. They go to many a refuge, to mountains, forests, parks, trees, and shrines, people threatened with danger. That's not the secure refuge. That's not the supreme refuge. That's not the refuge having gone to which you gain release from all suffering and stress. But when, having gone for refuge to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, you see with right discernment the Four Noble Truths. Stress, the cause of stress, the transcending of stress, and the Noble Eightfold Path, the way to the stilling of stress. That's the secure refuge. That's the supreme refuge. That is the refuge having gone to which you gain release from all suffering and stress. So I'll talk for a few minutes on refuge, and then also I'd like to do another reading after I give a brief introduction. And so with refuge, the word is refuge, sarana in Pali, and when we chant Buddham Saranam Gacchami, Dhammam Saranam Gacchami, Sangham Saranam Gacchami, that's the saranam. In Thai, it's Tipun, and this is like a place of security, place of safety, something that we can rely on. And it's also acknowledging that normally all of us take refuge in the worldly conditions or the worldly concerns, the 8 worldly concerns, and that's gain and loss, fame and disrepute, happiness and suffering, pleasure and pain. And so normally what we're doing, we take refuge in these things. We find that they're not secure, they're not supreme, and that when things go the way we want, we feel okay, and then when things don't go our way, then we don't feel okay, we suffer, or we experience some modicum of stress. So for example, as long as we are praised, or have a good reputation, or we're liked, then we might feel good. But then if we get criticized, or there's some sort of rumor going around about us, or we lose our good reputation, lose our status, then we might suffer if we're taking refuge in praise and status. If we're taking refuge in gain, then it's when we get the things we want, when we get given things, when we gain things, when we get money, we might feel well, okay, happy. If we are to lose those things, they're taken away from us. Our wealth is lost somehow, something we worked for really hard is lost. Then, because we were taking refuge in that, then we suffer, experience stress, dissatisfaction. Or if we take refuge in pleasure, then when we experience pain, we'll experience not just the pain, but the stress and dissatisfaction. So for example, I've been experiencing some pain in my right knee when I meditate, and I can contemplate refuge while that pain is there, thinking, if I take refuge in my knee not having pain, then I'm just causing myself suffering, because I'm wishing for something other than the reality of the situation. And if we take refuge in happiness, then when we suffer, we don't just have the normal suffering, but we have more suffering, and we add on a needless kind of suffering on top of that. for example, again, if we're meditating and the bliss and joy that we seek from meditation doesn't arise, then we might feel a sense of dissatisfaction, disappointment. So that's because we were taking refuge in happiness. So however, if we acknowledge these true refuges, refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and this is just an explanation just to explain or get an idea of what refuge is. And so, refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha being, there's an external form and an internal form. So, refuge in an external way would be refuge in Buddha being refuge in Siddhartha Gautama, who attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, the historical Buddha who lived 2,600 years ago and had a 45-year teaching career and then passed away. And refuge in Dhamma, external refuge, would be refuge in the teaching taught by the historical Buddha, so the Dhamma teaching, the 22,000 pages of the Pali Canon, all of the Dhamma, the discipline, the Vinaya. The Sangha as an external refuge would be the community of practitioners holding precepts, both monastic and lay, holding their respective levels of precepts. So those are external refuges of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Internal refuges of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Internal refuge of Buddha being refuge in knowing, in Thai we say puru, the refuge in the knowing awareness, refuge in establishing mindfulness and knowing, having a clear awareness of the present moment, what's happening in the present. Internal refuge of Dhamma would be refuge in the truth of the way things are. Refuge in Sangha, the internal version of the refuge in Sangha is refuge in virtue. That being something that provides a base for us, a foundation, something we can rely on. So that's the external Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, internal Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And then those who pledge themselves to refuge or commit themselves to refuge, the precepts invariably are going to go along with that, because without the precepts we don't actually build up our refuge. We can say the words Buddha Saranam Gacchami, Dhamma Saranam Gacchami, Sangha Saranam Gacchami, but without taking the precepts, it doesn't mean very much, because we're not actually building up that foundation for ourselves. So the Ajahns in Thailand, they like to say is Kilesa Saranam Gacchami, which means I go to the defilements for refuge, which is acknowledging all of us without exception. That's what we do until we attain our true refuge with Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. And the lay people who go for refuge, the lay men would be Upasika, and the lay women who go for refuge are Upasika. So the Upasika and the Upasika. And I thought it would be fun to read the story of Yasa. He's the seventh arahant in the world in this current Buddha age, this current Buddha sasana. The first being Buddha, the next 2 through 6 being the first 5 disciples, and number 7 being Yasa. And his parents were the first to take the triple refuge, the first lay people to take the triple refuge. Before that, even before the Buddha turned the wheel of the Dhamma, and while he was still absorbed in the bliss of liberation for 7 weeks, and the 7th week he was sitting under a different tree than the Bodhi tree, the goat herd's banyan tree. Then there are 2 lay men who actually take what we call the Dway Ratana, the double refuge, because the Sangha sense of the way we are, because they went to the two refuges, and that's Tapusa and Balika, and they were merchants with 500 carts, and they were drawn to the Buddha sitting under this tree. They had come from a distant land. The legend says they were possibly from Burma, and they noticed the Buddha sitting under, very radiant, under this tree, not knowing he's a Buddha, but being drawn to him, and then offering food. It was the first time the Buddha, after his enlightenment, it was the first food offering which he received. And they then don't request teachings from him, so he hasn't done any teaching yet, but they do request to take refuge and remember him as their refuge. So Tapusa and Balika were the first ever to take the double refuge. And then you can read this story of Yasa. It's kind of fun. He has a similar background to Buddha, but he lives in the town of the city of Varanasi, which of course the Buddha is now spending Vasa. His first Vasa after Buddhahood is at the deer park, and during that Vasa he's teaching the first 5 disciples in successive stages. And so this probably took place near the end of the Vasa, because they had all received the Anatta Sutta already and had attained arhatship. Or it could be right after the end of the Vasa, it's not clear. So I'll read this, the story of Yasa. This is from The Life of the Buddha, Bhikkhu Nyaniko, it's chapter 4, Spreading the Dhamma. The occasion was this: there was a clansman named Yasa. He was a rich merchant's son and delicately brought up. He had 3 palaces, one for the winter, one for the summer, and one for the rains. So it's a very similar upbringing to the Buddha. In the rains palace, he was entertained by minstrels with no men among them. For the 4 months of the rains, he never went down to the lower palace. Now, while Yasa was amusing himself, enjoying the 5 kinds of sensual pleasures with which he was furnished, he fell asleep, though it was still early, and his attendants fell asleep too. But an all-night lamp was burning, and when Yasa woke up early, he saw his attendants sleeping. There was one with her lute under her arm, another with her tabor under her chin, another with a drum under her arm. The hair of one had come unfastened, another was drooling, others were muttering. It seemed like a charnel ground, and he saw it when its squalors squarely struck him. He was sick at heart, and he exclaimed, "It is fearful, it is horrible." Then he put on his gold slippers and went to the door of his house, and non-human beings opened the door so that none might stop his going forth from the house life into homelessness. Then when he went to the city gate, and non-human beings opened the gate so that none might stop his going forth from the house life into homelessness. He walked to the deer park at Isipatana. Now the occasion was one on which the Blessed One had risen early in the night toward dawn, and was pacing up and down in the open. When he saw Yasa coming in the distance, he left his walk and sat down on a seat made ready for him. When Yasa was not far from the Blessed One, he exclaimed, "It is fearful, it is horrible." Then the Blessed One said, "This is not fearful, this is not horrible. Come, Yasa, sit down, I shall teach you the Dhamma." He thought, "This is not fearful, it seems, this is not horrible." And he was happy and hopeful. He took off his gold slippers and went to where the Blessed One was. After paying homage to him, he sat down on one side. When he had done so, the Blessed One gave him progressive instruction, that is to say, talk on giving, on virtue, on the heavens. He explained the dangers, the vanity, and the defilement in sensual pleasures, and the blessings in renunciation. When he saw that Yasa's mind was ready, receptive, free from hindrance, eager and trustful, he expounded to him the teaching peculiar to the Buddhas, suffering, its origin, its cessation, and the path to its cessation. Just as a clean cloth with all marks removed would take dye evenly, so too while Yasa sat there, the spotless, immaculate vision of the Dhamma arose in him. All that is subject to arising is subject to cessation. Now Yasa's mother went up into his palace. Not seeing Yasa, she went to the merchant, Yasa's father is referred to as the merchant, and said, "Your son Yasa cannot be found." Then he sent messengers in all the 4 directions, and he himself went to the deer park at Isipatana. Seeing the prints of the gold slippers, he followed them. The Blessed One saw him coming. He thought, "Suppose I use my supernormal power so that while the merchant is sitting here, he will not see Yasa sitting here." He did so. Then the merchant came to the Blessed One and asked him, "Lord, might the Blessed One have seen Yasa? Now sit down, and perhaps while you are sitting here, you may see Yasa sitting here too." He was glad when he heard this, and he paid homage to the Blessed One and sat down at one side. When he had done so, the Blessed One talked to him as he had done to Yasa. Then the merchant saw and reached and found and penetrated the Dhamma. He left uncertainty behind him, his doubts vanished. He gained perfect confidence and became independent of others in the teacher's dispensation. He said, magnificent Lord, the Dhamma has been made clear in many ways by the Blessed One, as though he were writing the overthrown, revealing the hidden, showing the way to one who is lost, holding up a lamp in the dark for those with eyes to see visible forms. I go to the Blessed One for refuge, and to the Dhamma and to the Sangha of bhikkhus. Beginning from today, Lord, let the Blessed One receive me as his follower who has gone to him for refuge as long as breath lasts. And he was the first adherent in the world to take the triple refuge. While the Dhamma was being taught to his father, Yasa reviewed the plane of knowledge that he had seen and experienced, and through not clinging, his heart was liberated from taints. Then the Blessed One thought, after this achievement, Yasa is no longer capable of reverting to what he has left behind and enjoying sensual pleasures in the house life as he used to. Suppose I now stop using the supernormal power. He did so. The merchant saw his son sitting there. He said to him, Yasa, my son, your mother is sorrowing and grieving. Give life to your mother. Yasa looked at the Blessed One. The Blessed One said to the merchant, how do you conceive this? If Yasa had seen the Dhamma with the learner's knowledge and the learner's eyes as you have done, and if he had then reviewed the plane of knowledge that he had seen and experienced, and if through not clinging his heart had been liberated from the taints, would he be capable of reverting to what he had left behind and enjoying sensual pleasures in the house life as he used to? No, Lord. But that is what Yasa has done. Now he is no longer capable of reverting to what he has left behind and enjoying sensual pleasures in the house life as he used to do. It is a gain, Lord, it is a great gain for Yasa that through not clinging his heart is liberated from the taints. Lord, let the Blessed One with Yasa as his attendant monk consent to accept today's meal from me. The Blessed One consented in silence. Then when the merchant knew that the Blessed One had consented, he rose from his seat, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, he departed, keeping him on his right. Soon after he had gone, Yasa said to the Blessed One, Lord, I wish to receive the going forth in the full admission from the Blessed One. This is also interesting in that he was actually technically still a layperson when he achieved arahantship, which shows that it is possible. Come, bhikkhu, the Blessed One said. The Dhamma is well proclaimed. Lead the holy life for the complete ending of suffering. And that was the Venerable Yasa's full admission. And then there were 7 arahants in the world. It now being morning, the Blessed One dressed, and taking his bowl and outer robe, he went with the Venerable Yasa as his attendant monk to the merchant's house, and he sat down on the appointed seat. Then the Venerable Yasa's mother and his former wife went to the Blessed One, and after paying homage to him, they sat down at one side. He talked to them as he had talked to Yasa, his father. The spotless, immaculate vision of the Dhamma arose in them too. All that is subject to arising is subject to cessation. They saw the Dhamma as the merchant had done, and they took the triple refuge. Beginning from today, Lord, let the Blessed One receive us as his followers, who have gone to him for refuge as long as breath lasts. And they were the first women adherents in the world to take the triple refuge. Then the Venerable Yasa's mother and father and his former wife served the Blessed One and the Venerable Yasa with their own hands, and they satisfied them with different kinds of good food. When the Blessed One had eaten and no longer had the bowl in his hand, they sat down at one side. Then, after the Blessed One had instructed, urged, roused, and encouraged them with a talk on the Dhamma, he rose from his seat and went away. Now 4 of the Venerable Yasa's friends belonged to the leading merchants' families in Benares, whose names were Vimala, Sabahu, Punaji, and Gavampati, heard. Yasa the Cleansman has shaved off his hair and beard, it seems, and put on a yellow robe, and he has gone forth from the house life into homelessness. When they heard this, they thought, it can be no ordinary Dhamma discipline, it can be no ordinary going forth for Yasa to have done this. They then went to the Venerable Yasa, and after paying homage to him, they stood at one side. Then the Venerable Yasa took them to the Blessed One. After presenting them to the Blessed One, he said, Lord, let the Blessed One advise and instruct them. Then the Blessed One talked to them as he had done to the others, and they too became independent in the teacher's dispensation. They said, Lord, we wish to receive going forth in the full admission from the Blessed One. Come, bhikkhus, the Blessed One said, the Dhamma is well proclaimed. Lead the holy life for the complete ending of suffering. And that was the Venerable One's admission. Then the Blessed One advised and instructed those bhikkhus in the Dhamma, and while they were being thus advised and instructed, their hearts, through not clinging, were liberated from the taints. And then there were 11 arhats in the world. Now 50 of the Venerable Yasa's friends in the countryside, sons of leading and secondary families, heard likewise that he had gone forth into homelessness. They went to the Venerable Yasa, who took them to the Blessed One. And when the Blessed One had talked to them, they too asked for the going forth in the full admission. After they had been advised and instructed by the Blessed One, their hearts through not clinging were liberated from the taints. And then there were 61 arhats in the world. Then the Blessed One addressed the bhikkhus. Bhikkhus, I am free from all shackles, whether human or divine. You too are free from all shackles, whether human or divine. Now go and wander for the welfare and happiness of many, out of compassion for the world, for the benefit, welfare, and happiness of gods and men. Teach the Dhamma that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, with the meaning and the letter. Explain the holy life that is utterly perfect and pure. There are beings with little dust on their eyes, who will be lost through not hearing the Dhamma. Some will understand the Dhamma. I shall go to Uruvela, to Sangha Nigama, to teach the Dhamma. Then Mara, the evil one, came to the Blessed One and spoke to him in stanzas. You are bound by every shackle, whether human or divine. The bonds that tie you down are strong, and you shall not escape me, monk. The Blessed One responds, I am free from all shackles, whether human or divine. Free from the strongest bonds, and you are vanquished now, exterminator. Then Mara, the shackle in the air that has its hold on the mind. With that I hold you bound forevermore, so you shall not escape me, monk. And the Buddha responds, I am without desire for sights, sounds, tastes, and smells, and things to touch, however good they seem, and you are vanquished now, exterminator. Then Mara, the evil one, understood. The Blessed One knows me, the Sublime One knows me. Sad and disappointed, he vanished at once. So I just like that story of Yasa and the bringing the number up to 61 arhats in the world, and Buddha telling them to go and teach, go every direction, teach the Dhamma. And you can just imagine that from then on, from that point on, these different arhats going living in different remote districts and possibly having their own followings. There's no records of what happened to every single one of them, but throughout history, there's probably different places that have legends about these different arhats, and there's probably minor lineages that came from all of them. So I just think it's a really fascinating story. So, any questions or comments? Or clear that one. I actually wanted to ask you questions today. If anybody, I don't know if anybody would feel comfortable expressing what refuge means to them. That might be this for discussion. If anybody wants to, volunteers. If not, I'll keep trying to think of things to say.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I forget it, I think it was the merchant. After the merchant came to see the Buddha, and then it says he departed, keeping the Buddha to whatever it was, the right side. It's like, do you walk? So, what does that mean exactly?
Well, he circles around the Buddha. So, and then as you're leaving, it's kind of like probably turned a little bit. It's like an Indian or Asian form of respect.
Okay.
Like when we have the right shoulder uncovered, that's also part of that. And or like when we sit in seniority, normally we aren't like that now, but when we're facing the shrine, Karunadhammo is to my right. So like if we were all sitting in a line, it would be the junior monks who would be keeping the more senior monks on their right. It's the more respectful way. It's more of a somehow the right side seems more pure than the left side. The left side seems as dirtier, and just probably coming from very practical reasons, which maybe I don't need to get into here. But also, like, there's a tradition about when you walk with your teacher, you're supposed to walk with your teacher on your right, or if you consider somebody your teacher, and you walk with them on your right and just a little bit behind them. That's like the most appropriate way to walk with your teacher. So yeah, it's just a form. Yes?
So, thank you. I'm new at this, but when I was thinking of refuge in the way the Buddha has created the refuge, it made me think about 29 years ago when I stopped drinking alcohol. I followed the 12-step pattern, and it became my refuge because it informed me how to be when I'm distressed. So when I'm being pulled one way, it would say, no, be this way. And so I've grown from that, and now I'm here. And I think sort of like that is what the Buddha is saying to me, is that this is a way to be in the world such that when you're being pulled by despair or news on the television or whatever, go to this, think this way, remember this part, and this will keep you intact, and you will get through things. Otherwise, it's bad television, chocolate, and stupid pet videos, It's like, where do I go to not feel and not think and not be in the world? Well, I watch parrots do tricks, but that does nothing for me. That keeps me in the same stagnant place. And so this is what I think of when you said what is refuge, and this is what refuge is to me, is a path to follow that will keep me intact as I navigate this life, which can be very troubling.
Very good. That sounds very good refuge. Anything else?
I was just thinking about this the other day, kind of thinking about taking refuge in some other people, or they wanted me to take refuge in them, and I thought, that's not very stable. I'm going to stick with refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and then I felt more grounded or something.
That's a very good point. I think about that a lot too, like taking refuge in people being a certain way, or even on the ultimate level, Ajahn Chah didn't want people to take refuge in him as a person, because if that's unstable. There was a lot of monks who took Ajahn Chah completely as their refuge, and when he passed away, they ended up destroying him. So he wanted them to take a step further, try to find those internal refuges.
That's a good point to just say, generally speaking, in our tradition, we don't have as strong an emphasis as, say, maybe some other traditions of refuge in the guru kind of aspect of it. It's more encouraged, instead of taking refuge in the individual teacher. I was just saying about what Ajahn said, that we take refuge in Sangha, because hopefully, at least for the rest of the time that the teachings are in the world, there will be a Sangha into the future. But an individual teacher as a guru is only there for as long as they're alive. So we don't make a big deal of encouraging people to take refuge in a single individual teacher in an aspect or otherwise.
And at the same time, people can rely on somebody like Rinpoche or Upasika, acknowledging you can rely on them, and we will miss them when they're gone, but what they're pointing to is that internal refuge that's going to go beyond what we're left.
You can learn from the teachers and keep coming to them as long as they're there, but ultimately incorporate that, internalize that, and make that the refuge inside.
So, I have a question, and I can first reflect on some of the ways I was thinking about this before today. And one way was that I found myself reading memoirs of being in the concentration camps by Primo Levi, who was an Italian partisan and Jewish, and so got sent to one of the camps and then survived and became quite a prolific writer, as well as a professional chemist. And as I was reading about, he does a really beautiful job of portraying the people that he's in the camps with and how they manage and respond to the situation. And I had this sort of awesome, like awful experience that it is that if I were in such a situation, and the reason I'm doing that is because sometimes it's really hard to understand what's happening, forgive me, in our country just by reading the news. So I'm trying to understand what certain people's experience is. That if I were in that situation as someone who's taken refuge, both a profound possibility and actually responsibility of relying on the refuge of Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha in even the most extreme situation. And my question is about the phrase that I'm not going to remember it exactly, about having an independent, in what you were just reading, people see the spotless vision of the Dhamma, and then they're independent.
They become independent of the teacher in terms of they see it for themselves.
Okay, that's what that means. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I was just thinking, I was reflecting on your questions, and the most often thing that I take refuge from is just stress. more in the medical word of it, just like mental fatigue. Because I'll be at the computer and I'll just notice this craving for something good to eat or some movie to watch, like something. And what helps me the most is just like I notice the craving for something, and it just I want to go to it, and recognizing, oh, the reason I'm wanting this out of all of a sudden is because there's stress. So I think the way you said the internal of the Buddha, taking refuge in the Buddha in an internal way, like just recognizing that, oh yeah, I'm getting stressed right now. I should take a break. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Often listening to Ajahn Nyaniko and listening to him today driving up here, where does he always say to take refuge in is awareness. It's like to see things as they are, which I think for myself, when I can do that, because the world kind of mixes things up, but when you see that, you can be clear, and then it's like, for me, okay, then how do I want to respond? That isn't going to cause more of that stress, more of that anxiety. And I think something you were just saying is like we come within, because I think in our lineage, it's like we have the teachers, but they're gone. But then or you're not around the teacher and something's going on, you think, okay, what can go on? What's the Dhamma teaching me? What might Pa say? But that's coming from, it's like they're not there. But it is there inside of us now. So it's like it's cultivating it, developing more and more. So, we're hearing the teacher, the guru, but it's really, we're learning and seeing our own wisdom arising from the practice, from the teachings, for me, and then from awareness. And it's like, oh, and I think a huge one is impermanence. Is a huge refuge for me to see that it's like it doesn't stay no matter what.
Yeah, it's like the internal Dhamma, internal Buddha and Dhamma. That's just maybe something about awareness and treating it with things over. So I've heard like the Buddha knowing the awareness knows the truth of moving things out.
So, if the awareness leads you to the horrors of the world and things happening, how do you take refuge? How does one take refuge in that? It's like, it's happening, and you can't retreat from it because it is reality. It is there.
And all we can really know is our immediate experience. Everything else happening, say, out in the whole world, it's not really verifiable. And so we need to, what we can know, our own experience. And when we talk about awareness, it's not really, we're not really, it's not something, the awareness, the Buddha awareness is not something which is evaluating things, but it's only being. There's such a thing as, in the Tibetan tradition, they talk about pure perception. And so, the knowing that we're talking about, it can be purified by stages. So we aren't yet completely in Buddha knowing because we've got our perceptions and our karma and our whole mental habits and patterns of thinking since we're very young. And that's actually obstructing or clouding over the Buddha awareness a bit, although perhaps there's times when it can kind of shine through. So we're wanting to see in a non-judgmental awareness or a non-judgmental way, and through that then you have this kind of compassionate, loving way of viewing things. But it's not like we're trying to solve the problems of the world. However, we're trying to see things in a way that's just completely just a bare awareness. So it's not like that's going to give us an answer, like how to respond, although it might in terms of responding without defilement, responding without anger, responding with compassion to things. But that's about all I can say about that in terms of the awareness. As we practice, it gets purified by stages as our perceptions our preconceived ideas about things start to fall away, and then things are a bit more. It's like we can see things in a bit, I guess, in a more non-judgmental way.
So, can I ask another question?
Sure, but I don't know when we have to answer it.
Of course. How does one look at a racist killing of a teenager in a non-judgmental way?
Yeah, I think, using that kind of, if we're using the word non-judgmental awareness, it means it's referring to seeing things clearly, seeing that there is this happening, seeing the causes behind it, and knowing that within also a moral context, the Buddha isn't telling us to just divorce ourselves from any kind of moral implications. I mean, that's why we have the precepts. The precepts are kind of a compass for us as to what we as an individual can follow in order to lessen harmfulness into the world. So, in a sense, that non-judgmental awareness is in a sense like not prejudging a person or prejudging their motivations or making some sort of judgment about who they are, like as a bad person based on what their actions are. You can see that what somebody is doing, if you're seeing it clearly, and you see that there is harm that is coming, you're not trying to use that kind of awareness to be indifferent to it. Indifference is not the goal of this kind of non-judgmental awareness. The non-judgmental awareness is so you see it clearly in that context of moral guidelines, and then also understanding that those kinds of activities, those very brutal kinds of things that can happen in the world, arise out of causes and conditions inside of somebody else's own confusion, their own pain, their own unclarity. They're seeking for their own benefit in a very unskillful way because they have either learned that or haven't learned any other better way. So you're not trying to divorce yourself from it or distance yourself from it, but you're trying to see it clearly so that you really understand it. Because if it does give rise to indignation, then the response is probably not going to be a skillful one. If it gives rise to concern and an alertness to want to know how I can help, but without making a predetermination on how that might be, then you're moving towards a skillful direction. You're not looking to just immediately jump in there and solve the problem, because most of the time you're going to be doing that from some of your own confusion. But when you start to see it clearly and with the correct wisdom and knowing what kind of action will help and what kind of action won't help, then when the time is right, then there's the opportunity to say something that might be skillful or get to know somebody in a way that they can trust you, rather than you letting a trip on them that they're not going to pick up on.
Yeah, it's a tough one, but again, I can echo that, just that it's not about indifference, but the non-judgmental awareness protects us from having a quick assumption, knee-jerk reaction judgment, which won't really be informed by discernment. But if we have that, if we have a non-judgmental awareness and we suspend our reaction, then that gives us time to think, like, I wonder what led to this. I wonder what led to this. And then we give rise to like a reflection or investigation. And even then, we'll say, well, it was because of this, or it was because of that. But even then, that's getting back into the judgmental awareness. So it's like, this is a type of like intelligence which is informed by, in a way, informed by Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, informed by virtue, rather than being informed by aversion, attachment, things like that.
No, it's interesting to know how the Buddha dealt with situations like that. And that oftentimes, when, say, somebody like kings were going to war, or they were about to engage in something that we normally consider a harmful kind of activity, the Buddha wouldn't say, "Don't do it. That's wrong. You're creating destruction. You're creating evil. You should not do that." He would say, he would speak of it more in objective terms, like, "Well, this is what happens when someone takes life," or these are the results of certain kinds of actions. He would talk about it in terms of cause and effect. That unskillful actions lead to unskillful results in unwholesome mind states, and in a proliferative way that results in even taking it, say, within the context of karma and rebirth, to unskillful destinations. So he would point out what the results were of unskillful actions in body, speech, or mind. But he wouldn't actually, raise up the banner and pick up the crusade and say, don't do it that way, do it this way. He would skillfully go to men, point out in a way that they can understand, so that they can make their own internal decision. And that in itself gives that person a lot more clarity for the future about how to direct their own lives and their own actions.
And I know it's on a lot of people's minds, like just all of the issues of the day, and I think this non-judgmental awareness is extremely valuable for us as practitioners, and especially for us monks in the monastery. We want to hold this type of place with a non-judgmental awareness and allow anybody with any affiliation or whatever to be able to come here and be affected by us. At the same time, if we have a non-judgmental awareness, then we can take any issue in the world, and it's going to be easier to start to learn about it and gain insight into it if we don't just have an automatic shut-off, knee-jerk reaction, but rather say, well, this is a complex, multifaceted issue, so let's look at this aspect of it, let's look at this aspect of it, and try to, I think then there can be some way up, then there can be some sort of growth, or finding some sort of way forward, rather than like I can possibly say, well, it's all going to hell in a handbag, kill myself. But that's just sort of shutting down. We want to be able to, or I like to think of things in terms of not like there's this group of people or that group of people, but like if I have aversion, then I'm adding to the collective pot of aversion in the world. Or if I have indignation, I'm adding to the collective pot of indignation in the world. So what kind of come back to? Okay, well, it comes back to that non-judgmental, compassionate awareness. Then I'm adding to the pot of compassion in the world, and I'm adding to the pot of non-judgmentality in the world, adding to the general pot of knowing in the world. I think that's like our job as practitioners. Then out of that goodness, I think then there's really a way forward.
part of that awareness that I think I've learned is when these feelings and these emotions are powerful, to actually be aware of them and notice how it feels and notice what it's like and not run from it and not try to shut it off or, you know, push it away. So it's like, this is what it feels like. This is when I'm angry, this is when I'm upset. And I will say that is easily happening to these past couple of years in our climate, our nation. And just watching what that does to me, and to want to say, to find, as you're saying, it's like, what are the causes and conditions that I don't even know, why someone thinks a certain way, why things get to a certain way. And the trouble with the pain in that, to try to bring in the heart, try to bring, you know, my heart into things that I don't know. And let that develop in the awareness, and then notice that awareness when I do that, how it actually feels different within me. You know, that there's actually a shift in my body, and how that feels, and that awareness then strengthens how do I learn how to continue to be more open about things that I don't know. So kind of that, playing with that.
That's really important. That's a whole other level, is then not judging ourselves when we do get angry. When we do react, then bringing it back to, okay, even seeing that with non-judgmental awareness. That's a really good point, I think. When we can't control, or of course, for all of us, the defilements are still there, and we're going to slip up, we're going to get upset or whatever, but then having the non-judgmental awareness towards that, what's happening with us as well. That's also like we can come back to that refuge at any time, even if we have slipped up, even if we have temporarily gone down the direction.
Yeah, I mean, there's Mara, I'm going to strangle somebody. And it's like, okay, that doesn't mean I'm going to, but obviously there's a feeling, I have compassion for my feeling, that allows it to loosen. And to see it's like, oh, this is the nature of living in an organism that feels. There's all these things I don't know. As you were talking, I think Karunadhammo, it's like dependent origination, the cycle of just everything just going, just it never ends until we're just like, okay, can I pause with awareness right here? What do I know? What do I know? Which actually lets me know what I don't know for me, which is recognize how little I really do know about anything.
Yeah, I think that's all we can do is our immediate experience. That's what we can know without any doubt.
Okay. Well, I'm just wondering, going back to the question about when we take refuge in, I was just thinking that one reason why some of the things in the world could be disturbing is we kind of take refuge in the way the world works, right? It's like compared to Buddha's time, we're far less likely to die of childbirth or violent death or infectious diseases, and so sort of science has worked it out for us, and so we're not having this constant sense of danger. I'm just thinking the story of Yasa's parents. They were wealthy, but they still had this strong desire to take refuge in something that's outside the world. So I just, I also wonder if there's any sort of teachings of taking refuge in the world in sometimes with that kind of mission. So when the word refuge is used, it's always something that's outside the world. Is that how the term is usually used?
It's more like in the Thai tradition, this whole idea of Yasa Saranam Chami. In the suttas, you have more like, they're tied to the cords of the 5 cords of sensual pleasure. So I don't know if the Buddha uses the word refuge in terms of taking refuge in.
Oh, just like the
That'll slope.
yeah. The idea of going to look for, taking refuge in delightful parts, delightful environments, but that's not going to be where you find a true refuge. The true refuge is in the true and the reverse reading we did.
Yeah, so that's one example.
I guess I struggle a little bit with the idea of, so yes, there are things I take refuge in, but that they're not necessarily bad things, it's just that I take refuge in them, right? Like you mentioned bad TV and bad chocolate. There's good TV. There's good chocolate. There's beauty in the world. There's stuff that's wholesome and has value. And it's just a question of, I'm just sort of figuring this out for myself as I'm sitting here listening to you. It's just a question of not taking refuge in it, as opposed, I guess I've been, whenever I think about taking refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and then hearing that in talks and whatever, and it feels like, well, that means you have to abandon everything else. But I'm assuming that doesn't necessarily mean that. Maybe as a monk you have to abandon good chocolate and good movies and good movies. But as a layperson, I want to still be able to indulge in those things, but in a safe way, I guess, is what I mean.
Well, taking refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha certainly doesn't preclude having good chocolate or watching a good movie or something like that.
Just wanted to make sure.
But we need to investigate, though, what happens if we want those things and they aren't present.
Right.
Then what kind of suffering do we experience if, say, it's kind of hard to make that analogy now because you can always go to the store and get the chocolate you want. It's not like we're in a time of famine where there's no, in this society today, you can pretty much get a lot of things you want in terms of food anyway. You can get what you want when you want. Or on the internet, you can watch what you want when you want. However, the refuge and awareness is just knowing what's the effect on the mind of each of those things. But it certainly doesn't preclude. There was even householders who were streamers in the time of the Buddha who were still engaged in sensual pleasures. And the Buddha actually said, if you're wealthy, then it's inappropriate to not enjoy your wealth. You should enjoy your wealth you live within your means, and it's actually appropriate to use this much wealth for your enjoyment, this much wealth for your children or inheritance or whatever, this much wealth for getting away with aesthetics and wrongs. And so the Buddha has this very balanced kind of vision, but it's more like those things aren't ultimately reliable. When you'll use the example of being on your deathbed, you can't take any of your wealth with you, you can't take any of your enjoyments with you. So what's the refuge of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha is preparing for that ultimate point that's like the provisions for the journey after that awareness, truth of the way things are, virtue that's built up over our lifetime. That's going to provide a basis for us.
Sort of just, there's absolutely no immoral quality about enjoying something as long as it doesn't benefit one of the 5 basic precepts that cause harm. So it's not a moral judgment or a moral issue. It's just pointing out that some places where you take refuge give you a longer term sense of gratification than some short-term pleasure, and it just lasts for a very short period of time. And just recognizing that, sort of okay, well, when I, get that really good piece of chocolate, there's a sense of gratification, a sense of enjoyment. And it fades, and then, the mind's going to get some more of it. Right. But if you take refuge in something that gives you a longer term sense of stability, a longer term sense of happiness, then you're not having to follow that urge to get some sort of pleasure from something else quite so fast. And the training is a very gradual training of learning slowly over time which of those kinds of refuges give the longest lasting sense of gratification and pleasure. And then your mind naturally moves towards that and just automatically starts to turn away from, some of the ones that give you just a shorter hit. Because, gee, if it's me, if I can find, a sense of pleasure and ease and enjoyment that will last a day, then to me, I'll take that one rather than the one that, will just be for 5 minutes.
But it still sounds like you're saying that ultimately you turn away completely from those things.
Well,
can't there be a balance? No, I'm not. Because I think, can I eat the chocolate? Let's say I become enlightened. Can I still occasionally have a piece of chocolate and enjoy it with the knowledge that this is not permanent?
Yeah, yes, you can. The thing is that most people aren't enlightened.
Right.
And in facing that kind of choice, the Buddha didn't say, just as Ajahn Nyaniko said, the Buddha wasn't saying don't enjoy anything. Like the Buddha knew, what food tasted good and what food didn't taste good. And there's a sense of, physical, the body knows, the taste buds know, but there's absolutely no need for it. There's no, desire, there's no craving, there's no sense of lack when it's not there.
Right.
Yeah. But that, knowing that in truth for yourself from real experience is different from that as an intellectual concept.
No,
The mind is very tricky.
Yeah, it's like if you got to that point of true refuge, then it might not occur to you that I want a piece of good chocolate because you'd already be so content in your present
but
moment.
if it fell into your hands. I get it.
You're afraid of losing the
Put
chocolate.
into your hospital.
That's your point.
For me, chocolate is
Rain,
a
good
metaphor.
Isn't this about your attachment, really understanding attachment?
Well, it's the thing is like you would all, if you were in that state, you would think like, it's not even worth the effort of going to get it. I'm just, why not just keep sitting here? Yeah, it's the attachment is all of those teachings are always connected. Whenever you talk about a theme like refuge or precepts, invariably all the other teachings come and touch on it. So yeah, it implies that the whole reason we don't have that true refuge and awareness is because of attachment and clinging and the not being completely mindful all the time, and that there's this darkness in the mind, this ignorance, which is causing us to default in certain ways and into certain actions based on our habits, tendencies, and it takes that's the training. That's what it takes, training to bolster, recollect that awareness with given importance. When do we know it's, go ahead.
I was just going to say that there's always a parade of sensual desires, going through my head, and just which ones I'm going to act on, and which ones feel like almost an addiction, So it's good to be able to parse that out.
I just partly I just want to share what I understand, and partly asking a question. Really realizing their nuances of taking refuge. Kind of you were saying, short term and long term. There's taking refuge from just like daily stress, and there's taking refuge to prepare for our death. So does taking refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha mean all those levels and nuances of taking refuge?
They're certainly connected. I mean, that's the refuge that we're taking to escape from our daily stress, refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, refuge in awareness, truth of the way things are, virtue, and so on. That in our daily lives builds up trains ourselves in the true refuge, which is kind of ultimately what helps us at the time of death. So it's connected in a way. They're not two different refuges, but one, it's a refuge that we build up over time through that daily practice, training, just recollecting it, renewing it from time to time. And yeah, I think that's just how it works. It just builds up over time through practice.
Yeah, and it's the quality of recognizing dukkha, whatever form of dukkha it is, a little bit of dukkha or a lot of dukkha, the quality of being able to recognize that and see that and know the cause of it, the craving or the craving to get away from or whatever it is, the desire, the notion of the mind that's either moving towards something or away from something, whether it's a tiny little stress or a big time, life occurrence. That quality of seeing it clearly, knowing it clearly, seeing the cause of it, and knowing how to turn away and cultivate something that's more skillful. It's all the same process of the mind, whether it's a minor stress through the day or a major accident like that. The process is to knowing and letting go of the body and how to do that.
So if it's a little stress, maybe a little chocolate. If it's a big stress,
Big piece of chocolate.
Refuge to me is like driving up here today.
Yeah.
And I think here, and then, I get to the driveway, and I turn, it's like, okay. It's like, it's just, you turn away, it's like I've got a place to come to and be with, my friends and be with the practice, the monks are doing. There's a refuge. And, your practice is a refuge.
A sanctuary.
Pardon?
A sense of sanctuary.
Yeah, and knowing that all of you are practicing up here, and it's like, okay, we're here, we're safe, we can talk about these things without being, horrible human beings that catch us, and, so, yeah, I always think of coming up here as a refuge for myself.
Do you want to take a break? I often kind of think about this issue of refuge. This might sound a little crazy, but like when I'm in the shower, in this like wonderful hot shower, and sometimes I think about, you up here, and I wonder, they must have some kind of a rule or a guideline about how long their showers should be, because there's all these people up here and there's water situations, and I just feel myself kind of like languishing, in the physical comfort of a hot shower, or if it's really hot outside, a cool shower, and I'm just like feeling that pull inside, of that. It's so tremendous. I mean, something just like a shower, it's pretty benign. But yet feeling this peace in my mind that just feels good. It's a release from, it's soothing for that daily stress of which I feel like I have a tremendous amount built into my life. And so I just sometimes wonder about that, like, just like, what am I cultivating in my mind by staying in the shower an extra 2 minutes or whatever? I'm like, oh, we got a lot of rain this year, the water's okay, but it's just like, I do kind of like, well, it's like a kindness to myself to just luxuriate, or maybe the greater kindness is just to turn off the water and, keep moving on in life, or sometimes with sleep. Even if I can't fall back to sleep after waking up too early, in the morning, sometimes I'll get up and sit. Sometimes I'm just like, want to just lay there, and like rest. And so it's an interesting kind of exploration for me, like what's indulgent and what's self-compassion and what's just like allowing desire to just pull me, or anyway, those kinds of questions, about just really like sort of very mundane daily actions that we all do. I don't know if that's a very clear question, but it's just sort of something that I think about myself, if anybody has any, reflection to share. I really receive
No,
that.
it's just, you're not alone, those kinds of mundane kinds of things. It's just, it's the constant quality of just having to evaluate for yourself, what is responding to a need versus what's moving into something where you're really trying to milk something for every possible moment of, enjoyment until we're completely exhausted and completely on, you don't crave it anymore. But the craving, if you follow that, to its infinite degree and milk every sense of pleasure out of a particular experience, then usually that craving will look to find something else to move into. So it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the relaxation of stress from having a nice warm shower, and watching the effects of that. But it's sort of like, okay, well, when you're feeling replete, do you go for that extra bit beyond feeling replete? How much further do you take it, trying to get a bit more repleteness? Because that's where there's no
I think
end.
I'll adjust the temperature just a little bit.
That's where there's no end to it.
Ajahn, the meal reflection came to mind as you were just talking, about how with eating, if you're eating for nourishment, for keeping the body healthy, that's good. But then when you get to the point of, for fattening or whatever, then it's like, then you're taking it too far. So that you could probably apply that to showering or anything,
Taking the shower to relax and let some of the tension and stress there and get my body clean. And that's done. Turn it off.
And then I also came up with a meal reflection for that. And this is more like, I think, felt evaluation, like stopping eating, like I think Ajahn Chah recommended 5 mouthfuls short of full or something, or stop and then have 5 sips of water. And then, so like in the shower, I'm also a problem for me. I'm a shower person. Yeah, like when is it just really sensing when is it enough so that it feels right, as okay. But one could reflect in that way on a lot of things that are healthy and wholesome, and when they're carried beyond their actual maximum contribution or sufficient contribution.
Yeah, I think a lot of these things, it's all just, certainly we don't have rules against, like how long we can shower. It's not like me or Ajahn Nyaniko is going to notice when a monk's showering too long, you just pop in and just shut it off.
There was a monk earlier on, we did have a pension for 20, 25 minutes. I did say something.
It's more for reflection, like how is this actually do we have the mindfulness that actually develops discernment into what the effect of these things are? It's like eating. We want the whole meal to be as enjoyable as the first few mouthfuls. When you're really, really hungry, the first few mouthfuls are extremely enjoyable. But if you're already full and you're trying to eke out more enjoyment from more mouthfuls of what was really enjoyable at the beginning of the meal, it's not going to be enjoyable, and you're going to get a stomach ache and have all the negative effects of overeating. So that's the whole catch-22 of, that's the whole dead end of sensual pleasures. That's why the Buddha said sensual pleasures are a dart, a tumor, calamity, and all of this, because we keep trying to get more out of them. and they don't really give us lasting satisfaction. But we do need to clean ourselves, we need to eat, we need to survive, we need to look after ourselves. It's coming back to what Ajahn Chah was saying, like what's good enough. And I found like with something like eating or showering, yeah, you might want to luxuriate in hot water for a long time. But I found when I do that, my mind is quite dull afterwards, and it's actually hard to meditate, even though it may have been temporarily pleasant. And I found like when I take like a quick freezing cold shower, I don't do that all the time, but sometimes, then I feel really bright afterwards and awake. And so sometimes we have to be skillful in seeing the result and not just seeing the immediate gratification. The Buddha said there, he said, I don't deny that there's gratification, and that is genuine happiness in that moment. But then it's very fleeting, and the clinging to that is suffering. The longing again is suffering. So that's why it's so difficult to see these things. It is actually gratifying. The Buddha's not saying it isn't, but it's like the clinging. We have to just be careful that we're not increasing clinging.
Middle way.
Middle way. When do we normally take a break? It's 2:50. Temporary, 10-minute break or something here. And then 40.
We usually end at 4:30.
4:30.
4:30.
Okay. Take a short break. Break.
Don't indulge in it too much.